and how to develop a good relationship with the people that you're hoping to help, I guess. So I have a little slideshow I have prepared here. So I'm gonna put that up now, and hopefully you'll be able to see my screen in a second. As I said, I keep moving it off the screen. See if I can share that and change it to that. And hopefully you can see my slides. Tell me yes.
Yes, we can see your presenter view, so we can see the foreshadowing and the and your notes.
Okay, well, then I'll just play this version.
And now we can, yes, that's I think what you want.
Yeah, the problem is then I can't read my notes at the same time.
Well, we're easy care, whatever you'd like to do.
This is probably so there is a way, and I'm trying to figure it out for 2 seconds, to do both, to show you this, and I just don't know what it is. Can just do this for a second. One more try. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know if I can. Yeah. Well, problem with technology is it just doesn't do what you want it to do when you want it to do. So I am going to leave it on presenter view. Actually, no, I don't have to. It'll be fine. All right. And voila. Hopefully. All right. So I'm sure you can all see that now. And this is just a welcome screen. So being a mentor is a relationship. It's one that we hope will continue maybe after this, this internship concludes, but it doesn't have to. But the bottom line is we would like you to. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody else, please mute because I'm getting an echo.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got some feedback.
I'm going to mute everyone.
Okay, so it's a relationship that we hope will continue, but you're really just charged with meeting with your mentor for about, once a week for, say, an hour. It doesn't have to be an hour. It can be 15 minutes. It can be 2 hours, whatever works for you. We recommend that you try at least once to meet in person with your mentee. That would be ideal. But virtual meetings are also very, very good, as you will see. So we've done our best to try to pair the mentors and mentees with people who we think will have something to share in terms of their career development. When we're trying to find a mentor, we're trying to find a match of people who have related interests. This is not necessarily like a leadership mentor where, someone from the C-suite plucks out some, future executive and tries to groom them for leadership. This is really about teaching your mentee what it's like to be a journalist in the business today and helping them be successful at their internship. So things like sharing things like terminology. I remember when I first started, I didn't know what a kicker was. And it turns out that a kicker in Arizona is a different thing than a kicker in Dayton, Ohio. So there's that. In Dayton, Ohio, a kicker is a headline and a walk-off is a kicker. So there you go. So sharing these little idiosyncrasies of our business is something that that you can really do to help your mentee. But it'd be helpful, I guess, if you knew what the heck it is that you're supposed to be doing. So a mentorship is really just a relationship, and you're building that relationship over the 8 weeks of your internship. It should be a mutual relationship. That means that you should actually get something out of it, not just your mentees, that you should be learning from your mentee about, I don't know, anything from how they use social media to, to kind of what makes them tick, to how to be a better mentor. I mean, there's something that you are going to take away from this relationship that will probably surprise you. You should be respectful. They are juniors in the field and you are seniors in the field now. And you have something to share, but so do they, and they are already freaked out, of course, because, they're trying to please an editor. Some of them, this may be their first internship. They're trying to figure out that relationship and how it works for them. So you have to be respectful of their time and their ability to meet with you, and, all of the things that you would expect of a professional colleague. I would try to keep things flexible. If you set out with a goal of meeting once a week on Wednesday at noon today, and that doesn't work out for one of you, or they get sent away because they have, the governor's press conference to cover or something, please, be flexible. Try to find another time that works for you, evenings, before everybody gets busy, kind of figure out something that works for all concerned. And while I did try to match you with people that I think you share something with, mentors can be any age, any demographic, any, any place in their field. Really, the best thing that you bring to the table is the strong desire to help somebody be successful in the field that you really love, and to understand that field in a way that they might not be able to if they just had to intuit everything, or they had to ask their editor. You're also somewhat of a sounding board when they have problems. Sounding board in that, they may not be able to share with their editor how freaked out it made them to go to a homicide or, a car accident or whatever it is they're called upon to do, but you may be able to talk them down from the trees when those things occur. It's worth a moment to just talk about kind of bad mentorships. I'm betting that you've had one. So I want you to take a moment right now and think about what a good mentoring relationship in your own world looked like for you, and kind of a person that you might have expected to be a really good mentor and turned out to be a terrible mentor, or someone who just didn't have time for you. I think that's probably the worst thing you can do as a mentor, is just not make time for your mentee. I mean, the objective is to be present for them and to be committed to the relationship. Sometimes your personalities won't work. That's why I'm here. That's why Alex is here. Sometimes you just don't get along. Or you just don't see eye to eye, or you just can't really draw each other out, or something doesn't work in the matchup that we have created for you. Well, that's when you call us and we try to help you through it, or we figure it out and replace you, or just try to make things work. So, those things happen. So be aware that some things just don't work and that may not be you. But making a judgment, a lack of empathy for this person, being all about your own world and only telling your own war stories and not listening to theirs, being competitive in a competitive relationship, or trying to impress somebody or improve. Really, you are here to listen to your mentee and share what it is that might help them move forward. So thinking about those really best mentors in your life, can anyone tell me some of the things that worked with that relationship? Why were they good mentors? Anybody want to jump in and tell me? Well, I can tell you about
They gave me opportunities that I don't think others might have.
exactly. Anybody else want to share a quality of one of their favorite mentors?
They always took the time to explain why.
Ooh, that's a really good one. Both time and explaining why, I think, are excellent ways to think of this. I had an art teacher in school who gave me a place to just really, deal with some, crappy family issues that everyone seems to have in teenage years, in high school. And he just opened the doors to me anytime, any day that I wanted to. And he became a great friend. And I wrote to him for, I don't know, 25 years after I graduated from high school, even though I moved to a different state and everywhere else. These are people who make the time for you, open doors for you, who will answer questions for you, who won't judge you, who, are not rolling their eyes when you ask them a basic question about journalism, because you never know what place you are meeting this person. I learned that as a teacher. People come from all different directions. They may be brilliant in one aspect of journalism and may be clueless about another aspect of journalism, but that you're really good at. And so don't judge them. Just meet them where they are and answer their questions. So what does this mentoring thing look like? You are going to be sort of a more or less a traditional mentorship. This is someone who is senior in the business paired with a junior employee to try to teach them the ropes. That's what that looks like. But, if you don't feel confident thinking of yourself as a senior executive, for example, or a senior reporter, think of yourself as a peer. Honestly, I learned a lot from my fellow reporters when I was coming up. Again, everyone has different talents. Everyone brings something different to the table. I was paired with brilliant investigators who became great friends. I was a really good politics reporter. They were a really good environmental reporter. When I had questions, I would ask them. So, these relationships, while I think of this as a traditional mentoring relationship, you may think of it as a peer-to-peer relationship, which is just fine. And don't forget, these young mentees do bring something to the table for you. They have, for me, they're digital natives in a way that I will never be. I am always diving in and trying to learn something new about social media or new types of media, something about presentation that I'm not particularly good at in terms of, online presentation. All of these things, I learn a lot from my younger colleagues and peers, and in this case, a mentoring relationship. So be aware that you can get something out of this too. So there's lots of ways to be a great mentor. Hopefully that just slid in there like it was supposed to. Animations always freak me out, but you've already, I think, taken the first step. You are committed to helping your protege grow. That's your biggest task, I guess. Your second one is to get to know them and let them know you. So open those doors to your field, to your knowledge, to your story about how you got where you are, and let them get to know you a little bit. I always say provide resources. If your mentee comes to you and says, geez, I really don't know how to write a long form story. As a teacher, I got that a lot. I don't know how to write, I've been writing these, 400 word, bang it out dailies. How do I put this thing together? You know what? You probably have a clue how to do that by now. You've probably done that more than once. You probably, know that an anecdotal lead followed by a nut graph, and an exposition from there is probably going to work, at least for the top of the story. And you might impart that. But you also might just sit down and look up what some authorities have to say, or look in an old textbook, or call me on the phone and I'll give you my notes for writing long form stories. And you can pass them along. or really just anything, I'm trying to figure out how to do this little piece of code, or I'm trying to write a headline for the story and I'm just freaked out. You never know what is going to come up in your conversations with your mentee. So be open to providing as much material as you can in a professional way. I've already told you, I can't stress this enough. Make time, make time, make time. That's the thing that they want from you. And of course, they're also going to be, heads on fire, some of them saying, I don't have any time to meet with you, but I really need to meet with you. And so, try to figure out that, 8 a.m. meeting or that 7 p.m. meeting that works for both of you, at least once a week. I find that mentor relationships sometimes fall off, maybe you don't connect as well, or maybe you run out of time or whatever. We're asking you to stick to it for 8 weeks. It's not a long time. It's just a summer. It's 1 hour a week. Alex is going to check in with you. He'll check in with your mentor, and hopefully that'll help, provide the glue that these relationships need to really start sticking. We don't expect you to be best friends. We expect you to have a professional relationship. We don't expect you to be going out for beers. That said, what we would love is for you to meet in a coffee shop or go to your newsroom at some point. Keep your meetings, if you meet personally, public. So there's no question about propriety or anything, because, that comes up. Provide resources, provide what you have, stick to it, be in it till the end. And if you can, continue the contact beyond what it is that you are required to do. Finally, I want to stress, to at least here, to keep these relationships positive. You're here to be their cheerleader. You may criticize their work. You may ask them to do something over again. You may spot problems, libel problems, or some other problem in their copy or their way of doing things or how they interviewed somebody. You can say that, but largely you're here to be positive, to be their cheerleader, to get them, to lift them up, to say, you did that well, but here's how you could do it better. If you think of that all the time, they're already going to respect you. You already have some years in the business, so they want to try to drain you of all your intel about this business. You probably don't have to worry too much. Your criticisms are going to come out a little bit more harshly, I think, maybe than you mean them sometimes. So try to keep it in your head to be a cheerleader, to be positive about what they're doing, even when you have to be critical of what it is that you have to say about their work. I'm going to stop here for 2 seconds and just ask you if you have any questions so far. Anybody? I see something in the chat. I don't know what that is. Oh, Alex, I'm sorry I didn't see that a second ago. I remember asking at my first internship how many words were in an inch. I
would have loved to ask that of a mentor instead of an editor who looked at me like I had 9 heads, but
exactly. I mean, you're so afraid to present those questions to an editor because you're afraid they're judging you all the time. And they probably are, honestly. I mean, you remember those first days in the newsroom, I hope. I know I do. I wandered in and I didn't stop talking. I didn't stop talking for the entire first day of my first internship because I was so afraid if I stopped talking, somebody was going to say something to me. I'm one of the people that thinks while opening their mouth. Don't be me. Let somebody have a word in edgewise. So what do you do? So you're going to be a cheerleader. Okay. I said that. Okay. You're going to make time for them. Okay, great. I said that. You're going to do all these things, but what are you going to do actually when you have this time with your mentee? I did provide you, and I'll provide it again, a list of topics that you can talk about with your mentee. When things start getting a little awkward or things you don't really know what to talk about, that list can be a guide. But honestly, I think these conversations will come up organically, that you will just kind of figure each other out. So be a guide, show them the ropes, talk about inch counts, talk about head counts, talk about how you used to do it, talk about what freaked you out at your internship, talk about, your first stories or, what you do, that they're going to learn from that. Sharing the ups and downs, particularly the downs. Okay, they need to know that you made mistakes, that as high up in the food chain that you have now attained this exalted position to them, that you didn't get there by just being, the gods and goddesses that you are today. You made mistakes, you stumbled, you recovered, and you are here today. And I know that happened to all of you. So if you share that, that's going to be very beneficial to them, and they will learn from that probably more than your successes. Do listen. It's probably the most important thing you can do. And if you've been a journalist as long as I have, you know the power of being silent and just letting things happen or progress, or ask a question and then just let it sit there. Let them fill in your silences, listen to them, ask follow-up questions, just like you would as in an interview. Get them to tell you your story. Use the same techniques that you use as a journalist to get them to talk to you. Always offer help, always. What can I do to help you? That should be your number one mantra. What can I do to help you? What would you like? How could we proceed from here? Where do we go from here? Even if it's just, can you just listen to me for 5 minutes? Yes, I can listen to you for 5 minutes. And don't be afraid of an impromptu call from your mentee. I think sometimes those are the most valuable. Open yourself up to that. Tell your mentee that if they have a question, you're always there at the end of the phone for that stupid question that they got to whisper to you because they're in the newsroom and they really can't get somebody else to answer that right now. Let them share their solutions, though. Don't always jump in with a fix, because that's where the learning and the relationship comes from. I'm going to ask you in your very first meeting to set goals for this particular relationship. If you read my little mentor guidelines sheet that I sent you earlier, you will see that the first thing that I've asked you to do is set goals. It should be, of course, a mutual get to know you session. They have your resume. You have their basic information. I've shared LinkedIn accounts with you. I have a little more information I can share with you, but looking at a cold recitation of where they've been in their career on paper and vice versa for you doesn't really tell you who they are, how they got there, or who you are, how you got here. So this first session is a mutual get to know you session. Share your story, but listen to theirs. Again, share the downs. Try at that first meeting too to set a regular time, date, or place for meetings. I already told you to be flexible, but if you have something in writing and in your calendar, well, then you know that you can move it around a little bit to juggle for both of your benefits, but at least you have a placeholder in there to make sure that you get it down and get it done at least once a week so you can have a full discussion with them. I say always ask them, how did your week go? What happened this week? Is there anything that you want to share? I think that's a great conversation starter because, again, these are all new things for them. And what's new for them, should be kind of past tense for you. But then again, you may just hear something that sparks a memory for you that you might be able to jump in and help them. So don't be afraid of those, kind of trite opening lines. They really are helpful. That next session if you don't get to it on your first session, you're going to set, mutual get to know you, some goals for this relationship. You're going to meet once a week. Maybe they want to learn R, maybe they want to learn SQL, or maybe they want your help writing a long form story. Or, you might say, what do you want to get out of this internship? What is your major goal, to build sources, or to write that long form takeout, or to learn how to really do an enterprise story, or to, probe deeply into one subject. All of those things are things that you can discuss with them. If you don't get to it right away, just take your next session and talk about your mentee's career goals. Where do they want to get after all this happens, after this internship goes away? And then figure out how you can help them attain those goals. These goals should be hard goals, not soft goals. I want to write better. Well, everyone wants to write better. Here I am. How old am I? I'm a lot old. I'm a lot older than most of you. And I still say I could write better every day. Writing is editing, and you need to learn how to do it. And every day I could write better. But so that is a soft goal. It's going to just keep on happening. I want to write better. Your goals for this mentorship should be a little harder. Write down what it is that they want to learn. I want to be able to write a story of some length, 2,000 words, that has some depth, at least 10 sources, that uses some context that I have from this past, see if I can make some connections between this and a past beat I have, or try to get them to really focus on some hard goals. I want to be here in 5 years, or I want my next internship to be at a medium-sized daily, working in, covering education, something very practical. So I took this agenda setting and I kind of transcribed it into your list of guidelines, but that list of guidelines can be used to set an agenda for every session. Like, this is our topic today. Don't make them stilted. Be open to the possibilities of scrapping today's agenda and moving on to whatever concerned you this week. That said, always best to begin with an agenda. How did your week go? What happened? What progress did you make on your goals? What did you do this week to further these eventualities? So set an agenda for every session. Share your work. Okay. Don't always critique theirs. Share your work. What are you doing this week? How did you accomplish that? Did you meet any challenges? How did you overcome those challenges? How did someone else help you meet those challenges? How does your newsroom function? What is your place in it? How does the industry work? Where did your stories go? Who read them? Share your intelligence about all of your work. But remember, you're still a cheerleader. I always, in my classes, and even when I was a bureau director, which is one of the things that I did with my time at the University of Maryland, is run their Annapolis and Washington, D.C. bureaus, is I still haven't gotten books back that I've loaned my students over the years. I used to own, I think, 5 copies of Bill Blundell's The Art and Craft of Feature Writing. I don't think I own any now because I have given them all away, because it's a book that helped me learn how to write long form. Suggest resources that have helped you, or videos or presentations. I'm always putting on my Twitter, for example, threads of other reporters sharing their work and what they went through to get a particular story, or how they, beat down doors to get a politician to talk to them. Don't forget that, sort of the interpersonal relationship. It's not just about getting the news and presenting the news and, figuring out how SQL works or whatever that is. A lot of what your interns are going to face, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this a second ago, is how do I get along with so-and-so? How do I pitch a story idea? How do I tell my editor I need a day off? for a wedding or a funeral or whatever it is, remember that not everything is just about getting the news in your mentoring relationships. Review best practices. What made something work for you that might work for them? Libel, defamation, word choices. These are always things that I stumble over talking about because they're so in the moment sometimes. You can talk about libel and you can talk about, but that word choice, that's a tone question. If you use that word choice, what are you really saying about that person? So, these best practices of how you do things can really help them. Encourage your mentor to move beyond the rote, to jump ahead, to take chances, because they're going to be very conservative. They want to impress their editors, some of them, not all of them. And you want to move outside the box and develop their own solutions and their own techniques and what it is that they can do. You're still a cheerleader. We're going to stress that you're still should make time. You're still a cheerleader. Your role is always as their advocate. I think, hopefully, I've actually reached the end of my presentation. And this didn't just, yes, nope. I had a couple final thoughts on kind of how to go forward. One of the things that one of my mentors told me at one point was that their job was to help me discover my dreams and help me see a route to those dreams. And so that practical planning of a route to their dream job, their dream situation, their dream story, the thing that they've just really wanted to do, that's part of your job. Helping your proteges know themselves, to tease out what it is that they feel they do well, and to give them the confidence to see that they really do that well in the context of their career. They may think they're doing something right, but you reinforcing that really gives them the confidence to continue to pursue that. And then my final thought was to just quote Russell Brand, who wrote a book called Mentors, that through proper mentoring relationship, a transition of skills, a nurture of energy can take place that, and he uses a word I didn't know, instantiates an adult from the beautiful wreckage of childhood, a sober man from the drunk, a master from the student, and a mother from the girl. And so your job is to help them grow just like that. Any questions on anything that I went over today? And bye, Ginger. I don't know if you left yet, but thanks for coming.
I have a question.
Yep.
Can you very briefly just tell us what are their requirements? Is it like 40 hours paid, 8 weeks? Last year, I think you had a few lunch and learns.
I didn't plan any lunch and learns this year. I think Rebecca may have some on the agenda. Yes.
Yeah, so what we're the mechanics of what your mentees will be experiencing. Everyone has signed up for an 8-week program. Their start dates are flexible. Like for instance, Ginger's mentee, John Paul, one of the mentees has already started.
James Paul.
James Paul. Thank you. I knew it was a J. Others aren't starting until early June. So check with your intern about what their start date is, but they're being paid for 40 hours a week for 8 weeks. And they're under the supervision of their host newsroom. So, there's not, MDDC is basically just supplying the money. They're employed by the newsroom and subject to sort of whatever working conditions are within that newsroom. We are putting the finishing touches on a series. We want to do something about code switching and sort of covering communities that are underserved or that are not communities of your own, which is something that journalists have to do, sort of parachute in at a moment's notice. And then we're also setting up some kind of origin story lunch and learns. And those are open to all of our MDDC mentors and interns and the public as well, because everyone likes to hear the stories behind the story. So if you have ideas, certainly send them my way. Any other questions about the mechanics, or we've got expert mentors here. Everyone had just great things to say about our program last year. So I feel really excited that we've brought many of our previous mentors back, and Anne and Ginger have so much to offer as well. So if there's any other questions or wisdom in the room that you want to bring out, I'm here for it.
I would say you know more than you think you know. You know, even
Rebecca?
your mentees know more than they think they know.
Sure. Yeah, Anne, or did someone?
It was Denise. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm driving, so I'm sorry about this. But since my mentor last year, was not at our publication, and just trying to make sure that I do a better job this year of staying in touch. But would I ever have any need to talk to the mentee supervisor at their post-publication? I mean, how does that work?
So
Go ahead, Adrienne.
I would advise against that. Unless
Okay.
someone specifically asked you to do that. And even so, you're not there to be, I guess, in their newsroom, in their work. You're there to be sort of a resource for them to draw on when they have a problem or a question. If there's a problem with their supervisor, they should be the ones solving that, or they should be going over the heads of their supervisor to someone else in their newsroom. If you find yourself in that situation, I would urge you to call me or call Alex, and we can sort of brainstorm a solution to that. But I would strongly recommend you want them to trust you with the information that they're sharing with you. So unless they really think they need somebody else to approach their supervisor on some very sensitive question, I would not do that.
And I would second everything Adrienne just said. Get in touch with her if she's available. Get in touch with Alex. That's what they are there for. Rebecca and I have even been known to troubleshoot a situation or two in the past. But I think you want to keep that separation that Adrienne was referring to in terms of the trust and the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, remember that students get into all kinds of situations. Someone may be trying to sexually harass them at their internship. We hope not, but it may happen. A peer may be very competitive with them and make them feel uncomfortable in the newsroom. That's happened. We brought up the issue of code switching. That can make people very uncomfortable. There are so many workplace situations that can become very sensitive. You want to be there to listen to their concerns and help them figure out ways to solve their own problems, because these are incidences that are going to occur in all the newsrooms, in all the futures that you can devise, and in all the workplaces. But if there's real trouble, I mean, there's a sexual harassment situation, let's say. If there's real trouble, talk to us. This is something that we have to report and deal with. I mean, this is, those big kinds of concerns are something we should all brainstorm a solution to. Other questions?
So this is Ann Lordo. For some reason, I don't know why my camera's not working, but thank you for this, Adrienne. But just to clarify, so you would be the person for us to come to if something like that were to happen, as opposed to Rebecca or Tom?
I'm a great resource for you.
Okay.
Because this is what I did as a job. This is what I do. Period. I'm their consultant. Alex is also a good resource. He's a consultant to MDDC. If we have to take it further than that, we will. Alex and I are working together this year because I'm gone most of July. And I'm out of the country. So reaching me is going to be a pain in the ass in July, but that doesn't mean I won't respond if you have an issue.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Adrienne, is this a good time for me to talk about what I will be doing this summer?
Absolutely. You should talk about what you will be doing this summer, Alex.
Thanks. So just to follow up on that, my expectation based on this conversation is that you have already reached out to your interns, or you will be, I'm sorry, to your mentees, and you will be very soon. You'll be meeting with them this week or next week or very soon. And I would like to let you to do that, to ask those initial questions that Adrienne has laid out. And then I want to start getting in touch with all of you and your mentees. So that will start. So tomorrow's June. Next week or the week after, I'll start getting in touch with each of you and your mentees just to see how things are going at the very beginning. I'll do that again in July. I'll do that again in August. But if things come up in between the scheduled meetings that I'll ask you and your mentees to make with me, I'll make sure that you have my email, that you have my phone number, and Denise, if things like that come up, Jack, Laura, everyone, you are welcome to call me. You're welcome to email me. I will be around, and I can, if I can't help, I'll find someone who can. But that's my role this summer. So if I can be of a help to you, please don't hesitate to do that. After this meeting, what I'll do is just respond to the email that Adrienne sent earlier this week with how to get in touch with me. And then next week or early the week after, you'll get another email from me asking to set up our initial meeting just to see how things are going. So any questions about that?
You have a mentor.
Great.
And Rebecca and I will check in with Alex from time to time just to take his temperature and blood pressure and see how everything is going.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
It actually will be great. You don't even know how great you are at this point. Can I answer any other questions? Anybody got anything that we need to deal with today? How about for Rebecca or Alex or anyone else? All right, well, I don't need to keep you on the line forever.
And I would just end with thank you. You all, this is a wonderful orientation. So thank you to Adrienne and Alex, and thanks to our mentors, because you guys are really providing this sort of extra wraparound service to our mentees to really support them in what for many is their sort of first professional foray into the industry. And, you can look back with sort of empathy and maybe even a little nostalgia, your first foray in, and be that support that hopefully you had, but probably didn't, and be that for someone else. So thank you for your time in doing this, and we really do appreciate it. And onwards. So have a wonderful
Bye,
rest of the
everybody.
week. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye now.
Rebecca. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.